This is something I'd love to ask you about. So it's been confirmed that next September we're getting a film called New York, which is the prequel to The Sopranos. It's a
Yeah,
dodgy
that's
situation.
yeah, damn, that's a good one. Yeah, the Saints of Newark.
The States of Newark over here, huh? But do you think that, and this is something that genuinely worries me about, because a lot of TV shows that I watch and films I like Game of Thrones and Avengers and stuff, they're really, really crowbarring in the political correctness of modern society, even though it doesn't make sense. Like, have you seen Avengers Endgame?
Yeah, I saw when the all the millions of people from different dimensions are fighting, and then the women team up out of nowhere, and it's we
Right,
got your back, girl. Yeah, I threw up in my mouth.
right. That bit really annoyed me, and not that it wasn't a cool action scene, but it's like, but this isn't about sexism. So the whole point of this is just to get the fucking the social justice warriors that no women. It's like, well, you just get about nine at the same time, and one of them was a black person.
Well, and I think it's just bending over backwards to satisfy the vocal minority, which is, I mean, yeah, they're the largest people, they're the squeaky wheel, but they're not really the people paying to see paying to see the movie. And it's like I don't mind the fact that people were complaining with the Captain America handing over his shield to a black guy, but I mean the Falcon, did take over for Captain America. That's in the spirit of the comics. So there's nothing wrong with that. But when you see the obvious shoehorned in bullshit like all the women combining, like first of all, a bunch of women are not going to get together to back up another woman. It's never happened. It's absurd. And then to watch that, it was just so shoehorned in and fake and just it to avoid criticism. And it wasn't part of the story. It was just to avoid it.
And then there was also quite a feminist thing that happened at the end of Game of Thrones last week, which I'll not spoil if you haven't seen. But regarding The Sopranos, so the story of The Sopranos film is that it's going to be set in the 60s during the race riots.
Okay.
So even though it's going to be set in the 60s, do you think that a film coming out in 2020 is going to have uh, is going to get away with using like racist terms or the way the Sopranos or the way the mafia would call each other? Hey, he's a fag. And do you think that they're going to have like a female leader of the mafia back then?
I don't know. I'm curious how it will be done. Like they made a movie called Detroit about the Detroit riots recently, and it was based on something that happened at the Algiers Hotel during the Detroit riots in the 1960s, but it wasn't it did exactly what it was supposed to do, where it just made all the white people look like garbage and all the black people look great, where in reality people rioting was not a good thing. Burning down a city that lasted, it's been almost half a century, and the city I grew up in is still in disarray. Like there's two sides of different stories. Now there's a lot of shitty white cops back then, there's no fucking doubt about it, but there was also a lot of shitty black people back then rioting in the streets. Like, and with this, I'm curious what they'll do, because yeah, they may not use words that were of the time. They may put women in roles that weren't actually there. Like I think there will be some underlying message. And part of the thing that I loved about The Sopranos was they were all completely insensitive to everything. That's where the comedy lied in that show. Like they were just terrible people. Like nobody watched The Sopranos because you wanted to strive to be that. It was just absolutely hilarious how these just insensitive, awful bastards did mental gymnastics to do the things they did. That's why he saw a therapist on the show. He was trying to justify what an awful human being he was. And if you take it back to the 60s instead of the 90s when it started, clearly they were going to be worse back then. So I don't know, I hope it stays uh, to the story and what I liked about it, but a prequel to one of the greatest TV shows ever is such a bizarre idea to begin with, and especially to come out now.
Yeah, I think it's a disaster waiting to happen. And plus, they've cast that fucking guy, John Bernthal, in it, and he all he can do is play cowboys.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. And, James Gandolfini, an Italian guy, I mean, he is a very versatile actor, just a brilliant actor. And so many people on that cast were just brilliant actors. And I just don't know. I just can't see, truthfully, I can't see it working at all. I have very low expectations, but of course I'll see it.